Welcome to Startup Hack. Today we're diving into the latest and greatest in .NET 9. Microsoft has packed some game-changing updates that you don't want to miss, and these are now live. So whether you're a diehard .NET developer or just dipping your toes into the ecosystem, or not even a developer at all but want to see what the competition looks like if you're using another platform, these new features are bound to change the way that you approach development. So let's break down the biggest highlights of Microsoft's .NET 9 and explore what they mean for you and for your project. So let's dive into it today. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thomason here at Startup Hack. We love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. So with a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology, teams, and products. All right, we're going to go a bit unscripted today, and I want to go over, we're just going to review the release announcements from Microsoft's .NET 9 and talk about what these means for developers, for .NET developers, as well as for the whole ecosystem. This is by far, .NET has been maturing for over 20 years now, and it went from the full framework where it peaked out at .NET 4.7, and then it switched to .NET Core, and now we're at just .NET 9. So the naming conventions have been a little weird for Microsoft for a little while, but let's run through these reports here, and I'm going to get my camera switched over, and we're going to go through all of these different features here. So one of the very first things that we want to go through here is that with .NET 9, you can build anything with a unified platform. So .NET 9 is built to build for the cloud, for the web, for desktop, mobile, gaming, IoT, AI, right? They're really trying to unify everything. They're showing that it's cross-platform. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here so we can see this a little bit better. They're making this cross-platform, so you can see that whether you're running on Windows, Linux, or Mac, it runs on everything, and really it has been truly cross-platform since .NET 3.1. Linux is actually my flavor of choice. I never run this on Windows, so I always run it on Linux. I particularly prefer to run on Linux containers like Docker. You can see there's crazy amount of NuGet packages, the GitHub support. And then also you see this runs well with Visual Studio, VS Code. So gone are the days where you have to buy some expensive licensing in order to be able to use .NET. It is wide open and available for everybody. And you can see right here on this announcement, you can get the latest of each of these, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Now, in every single version of .NET, they are squeezing every piece of performance out. And this is part of the reason I love .NET and the fact that they went open source, because now at this point, .NET is the most powerful release of .NET yet, with over 1,000 performance-related changes. It is so fast. All the new benchmarks around .NET 9 are crazy. Now, the new .NET 9 minimal API performance is off the chart, 15% higher, and it was already blazing fast. I've done videos of .NET, especially the minimal APIs, compared to Node. This runs circles around nodes. Memory usage is way better. So anybody saying that they have to use, my big head, I guess, is in the way. Anybody saying they have to use Node because of memory, .NET runs circles around it. So you can see that it's actually much faster, much less memory. Just the runtime returned to vectorization, adding support for new silicon, including both ARM64 as well as Intel AVX10. So you can actually even run these on embedded processing too. The big reason for the ARM64, of course, is you've got a lot of Linux or Raspberry Pis out there running Linux, right? Now, .NET Aspire is the new foundational building blocks to build better apps. .NET Aspire is a set of powerful tools, templates, and packages for seamless development of observable, production-ready apps. It's been just 6 months since the first release of .NET Aspire, and they've already made improvements to all parts of the stack, from new features in the telemetry and metric dashboard to more streamlined deployment of cloud apps. .NET Aspire is really taking off and growing very quickly. And so today's release of .NET Aspire 9 brings some of your top requested features to help streamline your app. So these are some of the different features that you can see. I won't read through all of them, but the OpenAI integration is obviously important. Azure functional support, containerized apps. This is one I really love because we run all of our stuff in containers instead of running them on Azure, and it works fantastic. So artificial intelligence, it's a growing and thriving AI ecosystem, right? They've continued to build on .NET capabilities and building infusing applications with AI. There are new learning materials and samples, simplified integrations into their ecosystem. Truly, they've made AI with .NET super easy. Now, next, the AI ecosystem. You can see that they're building on pretty much everything. And this is what's been really neat for me is that I remember back in the day where you had to run Windows and IIS. Gone are those days. You can run .NET absolutely anywhere. Now, for .NET application leveraging AI, right? You've got the Microsoft Extensions AI middleware, you have AI data tools and services, and then you've got the Extensions AI abstraction and the vector data. Now, tensor and tokenizers. So Microsoft Extensions.ai and vector data are only a subset of the building blocks that they've delivered in .NET 9, as they've made great improvements to libraries and primitive types to improve AI deployment. So they've made a ton of release around work around AI. They've also enhanced the GitHub Copilot enhancements for .NET developers. And so this gives you these features: AI Smart Variable Inspection, AI-powered IEnumerable Visualizer, fixed code with GitHub Copilot, better AI compilations for C#, and debug testing with Copilot. Now, let me go ahead and run this video here really quick and see if we can, let's make sure we can hear this here. Nope, doesn't look like we're getting any sound here, so we're going to skip the video for now. All right, full stack web deployment with ASP.NET Core and Blazor. This allows you to build, so ASP.NET Core is our full stack web framework for .NET, providing everything you need to build modern web apps and scalable backend services. .NET is loaded with new features and notable performance accessibilities and security improvements. ASP.NET Core apps built with .NET 9 are secure by default. Now, it's optimized to handle static files in ASP.NET Core. Static web assets like JavaScript and CSS files are part of almost every web app. And ASP.NET Core in .NET 9 now optimizes these files during build and publish for efficient deployment. During the build, ASP.NET Core identifies any static web assets and generates fingerprinted versions of these files by adding a content-based hash to the file name. The fingerprint ensures that the file name is unique, which avoids stale version of the file being used and enables the files to be aggressively cached. So this huge caching obviously is going to result in massive performance. There's a ton of Blazor improvements in .NET 9, right? I won't go through each of these because there's, as you can see, we're not even halfway through this yet. There's tons of great stuff here in .NET 9. So OpenAI enhancements in .NET 9 Core. APIs built with ASP.NET Core powered services across the planet at scale, and we have continued to improve the experience of building them from every single release. A highlight in .NET 9 for API developers is in the new built-in support for OpenAPI document generation. So there's a new Microsoft.ASP.NET Core .OpenAI package. Metadata is extracted automatically from your app code, attributes, and extension methods. The document can be customized further. I'm going to make a specific video around this one because you've got samples here that can show you how easy it is to build an AI app using OpenAI, which is just super amazing. Now, there's also improved security for .NET ASP.NET Core, right? So we have optimized static web asset handling, improvements to exception handling and debugging, authentication enhancements, improvement Kestrel connection metrics, Signal R improvements. I mean, the list just keeps going, right? I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but it's also got trust developer certs on Linux and up to 25% Blazor improvements on performance. This is huge. ASP.NET Core is continuing to run. Now, .NET MAUI enhancements on multi-platform app development. So .NET MAUI is, and I've made some videos on this before, is really cruising forward and it continues to mature. It is the definitive way, according to Microsoft, to build multi-platform applications across mobile and desktop with .NET. In addition to a unified abstraction layer to access native features from a single API and create stunning cross-platform user interfaces from a single codebase, .NET MAUI includes the foundation to build for Android, iOS, Mac OS X, and Windows. Mac OS, excuse me. I'm stuck in the Mac OS X. with access to native APIs in .NET. The top goal for .NET MAUI heading into .NET 9 has been to improve quality and reliability so you can more easily deliver it. So they've gotten more than 30% growth in their active user base, right? So they're continuing to grow .NET MAUI, which is great because I think .NET MAUI, and you can see all these various screenshots, lots of them to look through. And I'm, of course, going to include this link in the post here. So .NET MAUI now supports Android 35, iOS 18 support, Xcode, iOS multi-target builds, native library interop. I mean, it's just, it continues to go. It's got a new title bar control, hybrid web view, just tons of stuff packed into .NET 9. Now, Windows development with .NET 9. You know, back in the day when the only thing to do was WinForms, right? Now with .NET 9, your Windows apps will have access to the latest OS features and capabilities while ensuring they're more performant and accessible than ever. Whether you're starting a new modern app with WinUI 3 and the Windows App SDK or modernizing your existing WPF or WinForm applications, your Windows apps run better on .NET 9. So they've actually built this to make it to support both old as well as new. Tons of stuff we're building around there. And of course, let's not forget C# and F#. C# is one of the most popular languages and loved programming languages in the world. And C# 13, which is what's packed into .NET 9, which is a little confusing, I'll give you, but we focus on features that make it easier, safer, and faster for you to write code in the styles you know and love. The use of the params, modifier, and method signatures gets a boost over in C# 13 with the addition of collections expressions. This means you are no longer limited to using array types with params. So we can see an example here, right? Is that instead of, having concat params and using array, now we can use a list of type T and then also use the new lock feature, right? With my lock, right? And then from here, write the console. So this would be a beginning start, right? I don't use a ton of F#, but for you F# developers out here, I'll let you cruise through this and figure out what you're doing. Now, today's release with .NET 9, accompanied by updates to our developer tools to make it more productive than ever. First, the release of Visual Studio 2022 17.12, which I love that they're not continuing to push new versions of Visual Studio. I'm just so glad that they finally got away from that old model where it had to really be locked with it. And of course, they also know we love CLI tools, so they've improved the .NET CLI experience to help make it a part of a secure development approach. So you can actually still do at the command line for those of us that are still deploying on Linux, which is fantastic. So big, huge lifts there. So tons of stuff going on. That's just a bit of it. There's a whole bunch of stuff here that we can go through, which I won't run through, but there's updates in the .NET runtime, updates in the .NET libraries, updates in the .NET SDK, tons of stuff. So I'm going to include these links here down below. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of this new release. I obviously am a huge .NET fan, been using it since a beta release of the very first version of .NET, and I love I love the Microsoft ecosystem. I love that they've moved it over now to not just force you to only be running on Windows. .NET 9 is a huge boost, huge launch, and definitely a huge step forward. And I'm glad to see that this is going to be running. Now, .NET 9 is just your standard term support, so it's not an LTS, which is your long-term support. So it is the successor to .NET 8, but so we'll probably see a fairly quick loop back to .NET 10, which usually will include a whole bunch of improvements from .NET 9, and then will become the long-term support. .NET 8 is still the long-term support. .NET 9 is the standard term support, which is for 18 months, right? So generally what I've found with Microsoft is every other release seems to be their stable release. And I think that's what we'll see here as well. .NET 8, and so what they'll do is they'll pack in a ton of new features in .NET 9. .NET 10 probably won't have quite as many new features, but will be stability, security, that kind of thing to be the long-term release. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I love having a great discussion. Here at Starter Pack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out because we'd love to help. Make sure to leave a comment down below what your thoughts are on the new .NET 9 release. Or hit us up at starterpack.com/Spencer because we'd love to help you out if your company needs help getting your processes streamlined. And we'll catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.